Interesting, over the last week or so, 2 weeks, with all this crisis going on in Reform UK, I don't remember Farage actually saying anything. I think he's kept his head well down, and today he's popped up like a sort of Punch and Judy puppet, and he uh, this figurehead, the figurehead is behind you. It's behind. I'm not shallow. Fighting the crocodile. It's a party that was meant to shake up British politics, but now it finds itself embroiled in what can only be described as a puppet internal feud. Central players: Farage, the perennial provocateur of British politics, and Rupert Lowe, Rupert Robb, Arthur Lowe, the great Yarmouth MP who's been suspended in the middle of allegations of bullying and verbal threats, now actually described as racist threats. Allegations that he vehemently denies, and the whole affair has descended into a public spat that now carries the distinct possibility of legal action. So let's start with the basics, because Farage has often threatened legal action, very rarely materialised. Rupert Robb Arthur Lowe has accused Reform UK of a character assassination campaign, alleging that he is the victim of internal party machinations. And according to Loki, the accusations of misconduct are entirely fabricated and were concocted after he dared to criticise God, to criticise Farage's leadership in a Daily Mail interview. And in response, Farage initially dismissed the matter with a groan, declaring himself bored of the controversy, but when pressed by journalists, he pivoted to his more combative self, stating, I shall look forward to it, when asked if he was preparing for a legal battle. And the farce has escalated further when Reform announced that Loki had been referred to the police over allegations that he threatened physical violence against the party chairman Zia Yusuf. And this, coupled with allegations of bullying female staff members, has cast a long shadow over Reform UK's attempts to present itself as a disciplined and professional outfit. Loki, for his part, has labelled the move a witch hunt and maintains that he is innocent, to which I suppose one should say which. To add fuel to the fire, Reform UK has simultaneously celebrated a wave of defections, with 29 councillors abandoning the Conservatives, the Lib Dems and Independents to join the party, and Farage has seized upon this as evidence that Reform is broadening and deepening, even as his party's leadership finds itself embroiled in allegations of internal chaos. But while the influx of councillors makes a good headline, the reality is that 66 of Reform UK's 113 councillors are Conservative defectors, suggesting that Farage's appeal remains tethered to the right wing of the political spectrum. And at the heart of the latest debacle is the deeper question: what exactly is Reform UK? Is it a serious political force preparing for an electoral breakthrough, or is it just another vehicle for Farage's perpetual insurgencies, Farage's perpetual self-promotion, Farage's own manustupracity? The party is trying to present itself as a credible alternative to the Conservatives, but internal strife threatens to undermine that image. And Maria Bowtell, an East Riding Yorkshire councillor, has already quit the party over what she calls a lack of integrity and resolve in its leadership, citing the treatment of Loki as the final straw. If Reform UK cannot maintain internal stability, how does it expect to sell itself as a party of governance? So the headline at once is that 29 councillors have suddenly come into the Reform UK. It doesn't want the headline that other councillors have defected from Reform UK. Then there's the question of ideological direction for Reform UK. Historically associated with Euroscepticism and right-wing populism, the party has been attempting a shift towards the centre to attract disaffected voters from across the political spectrum. But this very shift has angered some of its staunchest supporters, who feel betrayed by what they see as a watering down of the party's message. And Farage's reluctance to embrace explicitly right-wing policies has led to accusations that Reform UK is merely becoming a centrist uniparty light. a party that talks tough but ultimately plays by the rules of the establishment. And the latest controversy also highlights a recurring theme in Farage's political career, which is conflict. Whether it was UKIP, the Brexit Party, or now Reform UK, every political entity that he has helmed has been marked by infighting, by purges, by internal drama. And some would argue that this is simply the natural consequence of being an anti-establishment disruptor. But at what point does perpetual conflict become a liability? A party that cannot maintain internal unity will struggle to win public trust. And if Farage hopes to position himself as a serious electoral contender, he needs to demonstrate that Reform UK is more than just another protest movement in a perpetual state of flux, in a perpetual need to fight. So where does this leave us? With Loki threatening legal action and Farage gleefully anticipating a court battle, Reform UK's focus has drifted away from policy and electoral strategy towards a soap opera of grievance and accusation. And while Farage insists this row will not dent Reform UK's electoral prospects, history suggests that voters have little patience with parties consumed by internal conflict and the status of its little figures. For now, the party is banking on public disillusionment with the Conservatives and Labour to propel it forward. But what is there that Reform UK has got that makes it any better? I mean, it's got nothing. Completely apart from policies, which I of course reject. But what about the individuals? Lee Anderson picking a fight with a constituent outside Westminster. This sort of string of allegations about dodgy pasts. Unless Reform UK can clean up its act and resolve these internal divisions and articulate a clear and compelling vision for government, it risks becoming just another extremist experiment that burns bright before fizzling into irrelevance. Reform UK stands at a crossroads. It can either professionalise, stabilise and make a serious play for power, or it can continue to be an entertaining but ultimately ineffectual sideshow. Farage has already made his place in the history books. He will be held responsible for Brexit. So he's already there. As it stands, Reform UK seems to be more interested in kicking up a fuss and being the rubbish that follows Harbinger, that follows Farage. Farage is the harbinger of this nonsense. That's it.